Good morning. Our time together this week will be spent here in Psalm 57, which is registered in the Hebrew hymn book simply as Miktam of David when he fled from Saul in the cave. Now, there are 6 of these Miktam Psalms of David, and they seem to have been written in times of great distress or danger in David's life. They were obviously so close to his heart that they were presented to the chief musician with specific instructions for their preservation and their performance. It's the 7th verse of this particular psalm that grabbed my attention and serves as our launching point for today's exploration. Let's read it together. Psalm 57, verse number 7. My heart is fixed, O God. My heart is fixed. I will sing and give praise. Now, it's easy to say things like that when the seas are smooth and the skies are clear, but it's obvious from the title of this psalm that wasn't the case of David at this point. Now, scholars debate whether this was the cave of Adullam or the cave of En-gedi, but it really doesn't matter. David was in a dark place when he wrote this psalm. He was being pursued by his enemies. He was being punished for crimes he had not committed. And he was actually pushed to the very limits of his own sanity. And yet somehow in that dark place, under all that pressure, David found the fortitude to fix his heart on the faithfulness of his God. And in the darkness, he determined to believe in the light. And from that experience comes another beautiful song of comfort to hurting hearts all these years later. Let's look at it together today. We begin by going back to verse 1 and focusing a moment on David's desperation. Be merciful unto me, O God. Be merciful unto me. Stop there just a moment. It's a passionate plea for pity. And the load was so heavy that David repeats it for emphasis. Look at the cave. Whether En-gedi or Adullam, it doesn't matter. The experience was so significant in the heart of David that he wanted it commemorated in the title of this song. Because sometimes the location tells the story. Sometimes the where is all you need to understand the what and the why. Caves are dark places. Caves are disturbing places, and caves are dead-end places. But it's not only about the cave, it's also the crisis. Think about it. How serious was his situation? Look at verse 4. My soul is among lions. So severe was the trial that David compared it to an attack by the very king of beasts. And I lie even among them that are set on fire, even the sons of men, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue a sharp sword. The lions were so close that David could feel their breath. And that feeling was only magnified by the darkness of the cave that he's in. Verse 6 said, they've prepared a net for my steps. My soul is bowed down. They have digged a pit before me. His enemies were actually planning his demise, and they were actively preparing the means to accomplish it. How serious was the situation? Oh, but you got to do what David did. And remember how sovereign was his Savior. Look at verse 5. Be thou exalted above, O God, above the heavens. Let thy glory be above all the earth. Right in the middle of it all, David got his attention back on God, and it changes the direction of this song. Look at the last part of verse 6. They've digged a pit before me. That's the fact. But it's also a fact that in the midst of the pit that they dug, in the midst whereof they are fallen themselves. And verse 6 closes with the word Selah, which is as a musical pause. And to the Hebrew listener, they knew without looking that this song is about to change directions. So let's do the same and look at David's decision. My heart is fixed. But despite all this pressure, my heart is fixed, O God. My heart is fixed. I will sing and give praise. Now, the fact that his heart was fixed did not mean that a broken heart had been repaired, but rather it meant that a fearful heart had been prepared to face what lay ahead. David had gotten control of his emotions. How? By considering the evidence. Look at verse 1 again, the rest of it. Notice the peace of God. Be merciful unto me, O God. Be merciful unto me. For my soul trusteth in thee. Isaiah said it, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed upon thee, because he trusteth in thee. 'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus. And then he sings of the protection of God. Yea, in the shadow of thy wings will I make my refuge. It echoes Psalm 91. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him will I trust. The peace of God, the protection of God. And then David sings about the passing of this crisis. I'm going to hide in God. I'm going to trust in God until these calamities be overpassed. Until these calamities be over. It's not always going to be like this. This cave is not going to be my grave. And then he sings of the performance of God. Verse 2 and 3. I will cry unto God most high, unto God that performeth all things for me. My trust is in God's performance. He shall send from heaven and save me from the reproach of him that would swallow me up, Selah. God shall send forth his mercy and his truth. When all the evidence is added together, David, verse 7 is just an exclamation point on it. My heart is fixed. Oh God, my heart is fixed. I will sing and give praise. Let me wrap this up today by talking of David's deliverance. Look first at the wonder of it. Verse 8. Awake up, my glory. Awake, psaltery and harp. I myself will awake early. Sometimes the cave is so dark and the crisis so devastating that our spiritual senses seem to go to sleep. But David's got his focus back on God now. So he's got to wake up his song, wake up his instruments. Now, some would argue that David didn't actually have deliverance at this point, but I would argue otherwise. Hear me out just a minute. There would come a day, it's recorded in 2 Samuel 22 and Psalm 18, when David would sing because the Lord had delivered him out of the hand of all of his enemies and out of the hand of Saul. There would be a day that David would sing that song, but I say this song has got as much victory as that song. For somehow, David realized the victory was already won. Somehow David had got a hold of the confidence of Paul in Romans chapter 8 and verse 37. Nay, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. And I'll remind you again that as believers, we are not fighting for victory. We are fighting from victory. We are more than conquerors. In the midst of the trial, the victory is already won. Look at the witness of that victory. David says in verse 9, I will praise thee, O Lord, among the people. I will sing unto thee among the nations. I'm not going to end. My experience is not going to end in a cave. I'm going to come out of here into the light again. And when I do, I'm going to tell everybody about your power. I'm going to tell everybody about your goodness. I'm going to sing in public again. And we close with David's worship. For thy mercy is great unto the heavens, and thy truth above the clouds. And he comes back again with that refrain that carried him through the midst of his battle. Be thou exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let thy glory be above all the earth. The thing that got him through the battle was still his song when the battle was over. He sings both of God's mercy and his majesty. In times like these, I'm so thankful for songs like this. I thank God this morning for reminding me that I too can have a fixed heart in a fearful hour. God bless you this morning.